What happens when the man who built a hotel empire from scratch pretends to be a rookie night clerk just to see the truth for himself? Shane Douglas stood in the parking lot of his own hotel, tugging at the collar of his thrift store jacket. The air smelled like rain and fried food from a nearby diner. This was location number 5 out of his 6 hotels. A modest 3-story place off the highway, supposedly fully booked every night. Yet revenue had been sliding, complaints were growing, and the guest experience scores were tanking. He'd built this company 10 years ago with 2 maxed-out credit cards, sleeping in his first location's linen closet while fixing broken toilets and checking in guests by hand. Now, with over 600 employees, he barely knew anyone on the ground anymore. He hated that. The reports from district leadership didn't help. They blamed staffing shortages, guest expectations, and economic pressure. But Shane didn't want excuses. He wanted the truth. So he shaved his beard, dyed the gray out of his hair, and got a fake name tag: Stan. The story was simple. He was a new night shift trainee sent from a staffing agency the hotel occasionally used for emergencies. No one here had ever met him before. The company was large enough. It made sense. The general manager, a guy named Trent, hadn't even looked at him twice when he arrived. Just waved him toward the front desk and handed him off to the night staff. "Don't mess up the system. Don't talk to guests unless you have to," Trent had said before heading out the door. "I'll check the cameras in the morning," Shane nodded, biting his tongue. He didn't expect hugs, but that tone, that was different from the culture he'd built. The night shift was quiet at first. The desk agent, a tired woman named Sarah, showed him how to work the check-in software. She moved with the weariness of someone doing 2 jobs at once. "Where's the other night clerk?" Shane asked casually. "Quit last week," Sarah muttered. "Trent said he'd hire someone, but it's just been me." "And now you." Shane helped where he could, folding towels, answering the phone, handling a few late check-ins. He kept his head down and watched. Around 2 in the morning, the automatic glass doors slid open. A woman carrying a little boy stepped inside, both soaked from the rain. Behind them was a man, limping slightly, holding what looked like a trash bag full of clothes. "Excuse me." The woman said, her voice cracking. We had a room booked, but our card, it got declined. We've been on the road for hours. We just need a place to rest." Sarah glanced at Shane, unsure, then looked toward the manager's office at the end of the hall. "I'll go get him," she said quietly. Shane stayed behind the desk, watching the little boy no older than 6 rub his eyes and lean against his mother's leg. His shoes were soaked through. The man kept shifting his weight, wincing. Then Trent stormed out of the office, phone in hand, eyes narrowed. "What now?" he snapped. The woman took a step forward. "Sir, we had a booking." "But yeah, I heard," Trent cut her off. "You don't have the money. So you don't have a room. We just need a few hours. I'll call my sister in the morning. I swear this isn't a charity," he barked. "You're not sleeping in my lobby either. You're making the place look bad." The little boy started to cry. Shane stepped forward. "Hey, maybe there's something we can do," he said, trying to keep his voice calm. Trent turned toward him. "Who are you again?" "Stan, the agency guy," Trent huffed. "Stay in your lane." The woman bent down to comfort her son. "Please." "We're not trying to cause trouble." Trent pointed toward the door. "You've got 5 minutes to leave or I'm calling the cops." Shane's stomach twisted. He stared at the family, then at Trent, whose face was hard, unreadable. This wasn't business. This was cruelty. The man looked like he wanted to speak but stayed silent. The woman wiped her eyes and nodded. "Come on, Liam," she whispered to the boy. As they turned toward the door, Shane couldn't help himself. "Wait," he said, stepping out from behind the desk. "I'll pay for the room." Trent's head whipped around. "You're not authorized. I said I'll pay for it." The woman paused, eyes wide. "You don't have to, I want to." He pulled a few bills from his wallet and handed them to Sarah. "Put them in the drawer." "Give them a room." Sarah hesitated, then nodded and typed quickly on the keyboard. Trent glared at Shane. "You just cost me money." Shane met his stare. "No, I just helped someone." Trent scoffed and walked off, muttering something under his breath. Later that night, Shane sat in the break room staring at the vending machine. His hands still shook. He'd seen bad decisions before, but this wasn't about systems or policies. This was a man with power choosing to humiliate a family, and that meant tomorrow everything would change. He just wasn't sure how yet. By the time the sun crept up over the parking lot, Shane hadn't slept a minute. He stayed after his shift ended, waiting in the dim break room with a lukewarm cup of coffee. The hallway outside was quiet, but he could hear the cleaning crew wheeling their carts through the lobby. Sarah had left at 6, exhausted, her voice hoarse from repeating room numbers and refund policies all night. She hadn't asked questions about his decision to help the family. Just gave a quiet thank you before clocking out and heading to her car. At 7:15, Trent returned. He walked in briskly, sunglasses still on, chewing gum like it offended him. His button-up shirt was wrinkled at the collar, and he carried himself like a man who expected the building to salute him. "You're still here?" Trent asked, tossing his keys on the counter. "Wanted to go over a few things," Shane said, standing slowly. His voice was steady now, but the tightness in his chest hadn't left. Trent didn't look up. "If you're trying to impress someone, don't. You're not even staff. Agency guys don't get involved." "That how you treat everyone?" Trent looked up finally. Something shifted in his eyebrows. "What's that supposed to mean?" Shane stepped a little closer, keeping his tone even. "You refused a family last night, woman, kid, guy with a limp, treated them like they were dirt. Then you threatened to call the police because they couldn't pay up front." Trent didn't blink. "They didn't have a reservation that cleared. That's a no-show. I don't make the rules. You made a choice. You didn't even try to help." Trent chuckled, humorless. "What, you want me to start handing out free rooms because people cry? You ever stop to think why someone might end up in that kind of situation?" Trent looked him over. "You don't know how this place works. I know enough." Shane didn't say anything else. He just looked at him. For too long. Trent shifted his weight, then turned toward the office. "Go home, hero. You did your good deed. Don't come in tonight. We're covered." Shane didn't move. "You sure?" "Positive. Don't need liabilities." Shane pulled out his phone and pretended to text something. He wasn't. He was noting the time and the security camera angle. As Trent disappeared into the office, Shane walked into the lobby where a new front desk agent had just arrived. A man in his early 20s, slight build, with nervous energy in the way he tapped the counter. "You knew?" Shane asked. The guy nodded. "Been here 2 weeks. Name's Caleb." "You like it?" Caleb hesitated. "I mean, it's a job. Ever talk to Trent much? Only if something breaks." He paused. "You're Stan, right? Sarah said you helped a family last night. That was cool of you." Shane just nodded. "People don't usually last long here," Caleb added. "Especially nights. Sarah's been carrying it by herself for almost a month." Shane glanced at the lobby clock. "What happens if someone's late? Depends. If Trent likes you, he lets it slide. If he doesn't, you might not have hours next week." Shane's jaw tightened. "Thanks. Appreciate you being straight." Caleb gave a quick nod and went back to organizing the keycards. Shane stepped outside, the morning air already warming. He walked behind the building where the employee entrance and dumpsters sat and lit up his phone. He called his assistant, Catherine. "Hey, it's me. Don't say my name, just listen. Understood? I need the company's security footage from this location. Past 72 hours. And I want HR to pull the personnel file for Trent Harding." "Got it. Also, find out who's been covering night shifts. I want full schedules, actual clock ins and outs, not just scheduled hours. Anything else?" "Yeah, send someone from legal to this site by noon." Quietly, he ended the call and took a deep breath. By 10, he was back inside, sitting quietly in the main hallway, watching the daytime staff hustle past him. Housekeepers pushing overloaded carts, maintenance dragging a shop vac down the hall. None of them made eye contact. He spotted a woman with a name tag that read Marta struggling to lift a laundry bag into the chute. She winced slightly as she pulled it up. "Need a hand?" Shane asked. She hesitated, then nodded. "Thanks." He hoisted the bag for her, feeling its weight, easily 50 pounds. "You're short-staffed," Marta wiped her forehead. Always, they say we'll get help, but no one stays. Last girl left after 2 days. Why? Her back gave out. Too many rooms. How many are you doing today? 24, Shane blinked. By yourself, she nodded, already moving on. He followed her to the next room, asking questions between her tasks. Do you ever get breaks? Only if I skip lunch. That way I'm done before 5. Do you get overtime? She paused, then gave a small shake of her head. They cut hours if we go over. Shane stared at the open linen closet. Shelves were half empty, the vacuum cord frayed near the handle. Thanks, he said quietly, for talking to me. She looked at him for the first time. You're not like the others. He didn't respond. By noon, a woman in a gray blazer arrived and walked straight into the manager's office without knocking. Trent followed her out 10 minutes later, his face pale. He didn't speak as he passed Shane in the hallway, just kept walking until he was out the front door. Caleb looked up from the desk. What just happened? Management change, Shane said calmly. At 12:30, he pulled Sarah's number from the schedule log and called her. Hey, it's Stan. Can you come in for a few minutes? She hesitated. I just got home. I know, I'll pay for your time. Just need you here. She arrived an hour later, hair still damp from a shower, wearing sweats and a hoodie. She looked confused as she stepped into the office. Shane stood behind the desk. I need to show you something. He pulled out a badge from his wallet and set it on the counter. Her eyes widened. Yeah, she didn't say anything. I saw everything last night. I saw how you handled it. You did more than your job, that matters. She looked down. I just didn't want to make it worse for them. You didn't. You gave them dignity when no one else would. She swallowed hard. What happens now? I'm taking over this location personally for the next few weeks. We're going to rebuild it, properly. Her voice cracked slightly. Does that mean? You're now acting assistant manager. Effective immediately. Pay increase starts today. You'll help interview replacements, train new hires, and set the tone. She blinked. You serious? Completely? She nodded once, then again, grounding herself. Okay, Shane glanced toward the hallway. Let's start with the people who have been holding this place up. We've got a lot to fix. By the next morning, the hotel was no longer running on autopilot. Shane arrived before sunrise, dressed in plain slacks and a polo with the company's logo stitched over the chest. No more cover identity. No more Stan. The name on his badge now read Shane Douglas, no title underneath. That was intentional. He wanted the staff to understand he wasn't there to bark orders. He was there to see, to listen, and to act. He found Sarah already at the front desk, reviewing the logs from the night shift. A clipboard rested on the counter beside her coffee. She didn't look up. Caleb called out, she said. His brother had a medical emergency. I told him to stay home. Good call, Shane said. She gave a small nod, then added, I rearranged the rotation. I'll cover until 2. Then Marta offered to take the desk for a few hours if you approve it. He leaned against the counter. Is she trained on the system? Enough to handle check-ins and calls. I'll show her the rest between guests. Do it, he said, and write up the hours. No one's volunteering. We pay for every minute. Sarah gave him a sharp look, half surprise, half relief, then picked up the clipboard again and went back to her notes. Shane stepped into the hallway and headed toward housekeeping. The carts were still battered and the supply room still needed work, but the mood had shifted. People weren't moving slower, but they weren't dragging either. He found Marta in the laundry room, folding pillowcases on a metal table. She had earbuds in but pulled one out when she saw him. You sure you're okay with helping at the desk later? He asked. Better than scrubbing bathroom grout, she said. He smiled. Let me know if anyone gives you trouble out there. She tilted her head. You mean guests or staff? Either. Marta folded another pillowcase, then paused. You might want to look into the maintenance team. Not all of them show up when they're supposed to. Some of us end up fixing stuff ourselves. Shane nodded. Who's running that department? Guy named Russ. Doesn't talk to anyone unless something breaks in the manager's office. That was new. Shane hadn't crossed paths with Russ yet. He made his way back to the front and pulled up the access schedule on one of the back office monitors. Russ had clocked in just after 9. It was now 10:30. Shane checked the security feeds and saw him in the rear stairwell, leaning against the railing, scrolling through his phone. Shane walked there directly. Russ didn't notice him at first. He was slouched, one foot up against the wall, earbuds in. His uniform shirt was only half-buttoned, and a keyring dangled from his belt, clinking softly as he shifted. Shane stopped 2 steps away. "You always start your day in the stairwell?" Russ didn't flinch, but he didn't stand up either. "Waiting on a part delivery. Can't fix the AC in room 217 without it. The guest in 217 checked out yesterday." Russ finally looked up. "Then it's probably for 219. Something's always busted in that wing." Shane kept his eyes on him. "You've been here 2 hours. What have you fixed so far?" "I told you, I'm waiting on the part." "You logged a repair for a broken door handle in 103. It's still broken." Russ shrugged. "Didn't have the right hex key. You've got a full tool roll on your cart." Russ straightened his back. "Look, man, I don't know who you think you are." Shane cut him off. "I'm the owner of this hotel. And I've just spent the last 3 nights watching people like Marta and Sarah carry this place while you sit in the stairwell." Russ blinked. "Hand me your badge." For a moment, Russ didn't move. Shane didn't repeat himself. Russ unclipped the badge and dropped it into Shane's hand. "You're done here. Security will escort you off-site." Russ turned without a word and walked down the stairs, his steps echoing. Shane returned to the office and called Catherine. "I need a temporary maintenance lead here by tomorrow," he said. "Someone who's worked with us before, no shortcuts." She confirmed and hung up. By noon, the lobby smelled like fresh coffee and lemon cleaner. Shane and Sarah had moved a few things around, rearranged the lobby chairs, scrubbed scuff marks off the front desk, and replaced the flickering light by the entrance. It wasn't perfect, but it looked like someone finally cared. A delivery driver entered, holding a small box. "Order for Trent Harding," he said. Shane took it, signed, and tossed it into the office trash unopened. The front doors opened again, and a woman stepped inside, a guest, maybe late 30s, with a pulled-together look. She approached the desk with a tight smile. "Hi. I'd like to speak to whoever's in charge." Sarah looked at Shane. "I'm listening," he said. "I stayed here last week, room 104. I've been trying to get a refund ever since. The manager at the time, Trent, I think, said the pool was open. It wasn't. Said there'd be breakfast. There wasn't. And when I asked about it, he told me to read the fine print." "Did you receive any follow-up after that?" Shane asked. "No, I emailed, called, nothing." He nodded once. "You'll have your refund today, and I'll make sure your experience is noted in our records." "That's not how we operate." She blinked, caught off guard. Thank you. I'm sorry we let you down." He handed her a card with his direct contact info. As she left, Sarah leaned in. "Never seen someone deflate like that." She came in ready for a fight. "People just want to be heard," Shane said. "They only raise their voice when no one's listening." Around 2, Marta took over the desk. Shane took the opportunity to walk through the guest floors. He passed a couple arguing quietly outside their room, a group of teenagers laughing as they waited for the elevator, and a man in a business suit pacing a call near the vending machines. He knocked on a few doors, quietly checking in with long-stay guests, noting which rooms needed attention. Outside room 211, he found a note taped to the door. "Toilet still broken. Called yesterday." He knocked. A middle-aged man answered, puzzled. "Hi, I'm with hotel operations, here to check on the plumbing issue." The man stepped aside. "You're the first one who's followed up." Inside, the bathroom door sat ajar. Toilet lid off, small leak near the base. Shane crouched, examined the seal, and told the guest they'd comp the night and move him to a clean room while repairs were done. He left the room and called Catherine again. "Put 2 full-time maintenance techs on the hiring list. This location needs coverage 7 days, and send a plumber today, not tomorrow, today." She confirmed. Back at the front desk, Marta was answering phones with a calm, steady rhythm. Sarah had stayed nearby, walking her through a tricky reservation that involved a third-party booking. Shane watched them for a few minutes. The handoffs were smooth. The tone was professional. It was working. A man in a dark blue blazer approached the desk next to corporate auditor from Shane's own team. He'd sent him quietly without warning. The man nodded, walked the premises, spoke to 6 guests, 4 staff. This place was on the edge, now it's stabilizing. Keep watching, Shane said. Don't report anything yet, just stay, listen. The auditor nodded again and stepped aside. By the end of the day, Shane gathered the staff in the break room, those still on shift anyway. Housekeeping, front desk, a few from laundry, small group, tired faces. He stood near the vending machine. I know it's been a rough few weeks. I've seen it myself. I want you to know we're not patching holes. We're rebuilding. That means proper staffing, fair schedules, working equipment, and respect. Every shift, every person. No one clapped, no one cheered, but the room felt different. Marta crossed her arms. You staying here long enough to make that happen? As long as it takes, Shane said. Sarah looked at him. What about the next place? I'll get there, but this one's not done yet. The group nodded. Then one by one, they filtered out back to rooms, carts, phones, and cleaning supplies. Shane stayed behind, staring at the out-of-order sign taped to the vending machine's glass. He pulled it off and crumpled it in his hand. Time to fix that too. 2 weeks after Shane had revealed himself, the hotel had begun to breathe again, but not without growing pains. The front desk now had a staggered shift system, with Sarah training 2 new hires, both quiet, observant types who asked the right questions instead of trying to impress. Marta, though still pulling double duty when needed, had been moved to a rotating desk schedule 3 days a week to ease the strain on her back. A replacement for Trent hadn't been named yet, and that was deliberate. Shane wasn't interested in filling a role, he was rebuilding a standard. Midway through a Tuesday, a guest stormed up to the desk, waving a receipt. I'm not paying this cleaning fee. No one told me about it. This is theft. Sarah kept her voice calm. Sir, the policy is listed at check-in and on the reservation confirmation. You left food containers and cigarette burns in a non-smoking room. I don't care what your policy says. Either reverse the charge or I'll make sure everyone hears about this dump. Shane stepped from the back office. He didn't raise his voice. We'll review the room photos again. If there's any error, we'll correct it. If not, the fee stands. The man turned, clearly expecting someone higher on the ladder. And who are you? I'm the person who signs the checks. The guest froze, then muttered something under his breath and left without another word. After the doors closed, Sarah exhaled slowly. That's the 3rd one this week trying to push us around. They're used to no one pushing back, Shane said. That's over. Later that day, the plumber Shane had called during his first week returned, this time for a preventive inspection. The man, a wiry, 60-year-old technician with a clipboard and a no-nonsense way of speaking, walked with Shane through each floor, marking notes and flagging trouble spots. 217's valve is aging, not broken yet, but it'll go soon. Pressure's uneven. Replace it, Shane said. Don't wait for it to fail, the technician nodded. Most owners won't preempt a repair. Most owners haven't worked a night shift in this place. They passed a young housekeeper scrubbing a baseboard with a toothbrush. Shane stopped. What's your name? He asked. She looked up, startled. Clarissa, he crouched beside her. You always clean by hand like that? Only when the vacuums don't reach. The handheld broke last week. He turned to the plumber. You good to finish alone, always. Shane stood and gestured for Clarissa to follow him. Come with me. They walked to the supply room. It was still cramped but better stocked than before. He pulled out a clipboard and wrote down 3 items. You'll have a new handheld by Thursday. And I want you to show the others how you're doing the detail work if you're willing. Clarissa blinked. You want me to train them? You're setting the bar. That deserves recognition. She nodded once, eyes a little wider than before, and left with a soft, thank you. As the afternoon rolled into evening, the temporary maintenance lead, a broad-shouldered woman named Gina from another property, flagged Shane near the loading bay. You've got a bigger issue than busted locks, she said, pulling out her phone. Come look. She showed him a photo. The image captured a hallway utility closet, one of the ones rarely used by guests. Inside, stacked haphazardly, were 6 cases of off-brand toiletries and cleaning supplies, none of which matched the hotel's ordering records. "These were delivered during Trent's time," Gina said. "I checked the invoices. They were billed to this property but purchased through a third-party vendor with a surcharge tacked on. Someone was skimming." Shane kept his expression neutral. "How long has this been happening?" "At least 5 months. The inventory numbers didn't match what's been used. I cross-checked with guest complaints. Half of them were about soap running out or towels not being clean. Makes sense now." "Did you report it to procurement?" "Already filed it. But you need to know this wasn't just neglect. This was organized." "Who signed the invoices?" Gina scrolled. "Trent." "Every one of them?" Shane nodded once. "Thanks. Forward everything to legal." He walked back inside, jaw tight. The damage wasn't just about tone or attitude anymore. Trent had turned the place into a personal scheme. By nightfall, Shane gathered the core staff in the meeting room: Sarah, Marta, Gina, and the 2 new desk hires. Clarissa stood near the back, unsure if she belonged until Shane waved her forward. "I wanted to bring everyone together before the next phase starts," he said. He placed a folder on the table. "This is a full audit of the last 12 months. There were practices here that didn't just hurt morale, they stole from the business and from all of you." Gina added, "Supplies were ordered through fake vendors. Guest complaints were blamed on staff. Hours were manipulated to avoid overtime." The room stayed quiet. Shane looked each of them in the eye. "That stops now. The people who kept this place standing, every one of you deserve better." He turned to Sarah. "You've led from the front without being asked. Starting next week, you'll be the official general manager of this location. Full pay, full authority." She didn't react at first. "I didn't think I was." "You were already doing the job, I'm just making it official." He turned to Marta. "You'll be supervisor for both housekeeping and front desk cross-training. You'll tell me what resources you need, weekly." He faced Clarissa. "You're not invisible. Starting now, your team lead on detail training. And you'll have new equipment by Thursday." To the new hires, he said, "You came in during the storm, you stayed, that matters." He waited. No one said anything until Marta finally spoke. "What happens if it goes back, if someone like Trent shows up again?" Shane answered without hesitation. "They won't, not while I'm watching, and not while you're leading." The next morning, Shane sat in the lobby as the first guests arrived for check-in. The air smelled like fresh linen and brewed coffee, real coffee, not the powdered kind. A boy tugged at his mother's hand, pointing at a vending machine now stocked and glowing. She smiled and nodded. Shane watched as Sarah welcomed the guests, calm and confident. Marta passed by, clipboard in hand, checking light bulbs and floor corners. Clarissa walked the hallway with a new vacuum slung over her shoulder and a checklist tucked under her arm. He didn't need applause. He just needed to see that. A few hours later, Shane packed his laptop, left the desk, and stepped outside. He paused at the edge of the parking lot, glancing back through the glass doors. This time, the hotel looked like it belonged to its people, not just to its owner. And that, finally, was the point.